When Conor signs to fight, the MMA world starts buzzing. His run to double champ is solidified in UFC legend
Smiling. Oh! He slipped him! Conor McGregor is the new UFC featherweight champion of the world!
but we haven't seen that fighter in a long time. Here is why McGregor just isn't the fighter he used to be. Extended time off from the sport. This one has multiple layers to it, but I just want to say off the bat that it's clear Conor is still motivated because he's always training. Regardless of how much time Conor spends away, he is in impeccable shape, and nobody is denying he has innate talent and a great passion for the sport.
Far enough away from danger as he starts teeing off.
Brandao looks hurt. Brandao looks hurt. This could be the end.
Big left.
This could be an early stoppage. Another
McGregor
first
comes
round
in.
for McGregor. This could be it.
That is it. It is all over and Conor McGregor.
But that's only going to take him so far in this sport if he's not active. There's not a sport in the world that evolves as quickly as mixed martial arts. 2-3 years away from the top means the fighters surrounding you make exceptional advancements that are necessary to survive. For example, when Conor left for his boxing affair with Money Mayweather, calf kicks weren't that big of a thing in MMA. Fighters kicked the thighs, and that part of the leg can take way more punishment than the shins because of how little muscle surrounds it. Today, the calf kick is a common weapon in the modern fighter's arsenal, and Conor's inexperience in dealing with them directly led to his defeat against Dustin Poirier in their second fight. In their third, it's suspected Conor broke his leg because he was already weakened from intense kick training. That shows you that nobody can suddenly become a proficient kicker, even with the solid karate background that Conor has. Conditioning your legs for kicking is a slow and tough process. If you push too fast, you snap your leg. It matters what you do in your time off too, and McGregor was focused on a completely different sport. Conor's lost his MMA touch. What made the Notorious One so dangerous in the early days was the unpredictability of his footwork, which allowed him to find openings for shots from impossible angles, and his continuous movement lured fighters in the path of his signature left hand.
Look at that uppercut.
Now, Marcus
Over the
is
top,
hurt.
looking to finish it here. Conor McGregor, another first-round win. Wow!
But when he was training to fight the best boxer in the last 50 years, I imagine his camps weren't really focusing on his takedown defense. And when McGregor returned, you could see the effects his boxing training had on his stance and footwork. The cowboy fight was so short, there wasn't much to say about anything. But against Poirier, we saw a much narrower stance, with his weight on his front leg, hands up in traditional boxing form, and this took some of Conor's best abilities away from him. Don't even get me started on his wrestling, because it had been his weakness since the get-go. I don't think it would have mattered against a grappler like Khabib, but had Conor been consistently working on his ground game, he could have done a better job against Dustin in their third fight. Wrestling is just too important a part of MMA now for Conor to ignore it, something that was drilled into him the last time he fought for a championship. Khabib took Conor's soul and confidence in their fight.
There's the choke. He's got it. It's under the neck. There it is. Nope, it's on the chin.
There's the tap. Still undisputed. Khabib Nurmagomedov.
You often see a fighter change completely after a single fight. We saw how Justin Gaethje set Tony Ferguson on an infamous losing streak. I think the same happened to Conor. The Irishman came in guns blazing, tempers soaring, and insults flying when he met Khabib Nurmagomedov in the octagon, and it was the biggest fight in UFC history. McGregor was so cocky during the build-up, and the loss was so embarrassingly dominant that you can still see the rage in the Irishman's eyes whenever the Dagestani is brought up. Since that was where Conor's losing streak at 155 started, it feels like the fighter's confidence took a hit. On the other hand, seeing the great Conor McGregor humbled so thoroughly took away the air of invincibility he had around him. It makes Conor's mind games and intimidation less effective, and fighters have a blueprint to beat the Notorious One. Be cautious and survive round one, tire him out, and take him down. Hungry fighters want Conor now, not just because it's a great payday, but because they think they can win. Conor isn't the hungriest guy on the roster anymore. If you were to ask me what about Conor's mentality made him such a strong athlete, it was his drive to reach the highest echelon of MMA. He wanted to make money, make a name for himself, and become a champion.
Alvarez getting loose, getting better here in this round, though.
Oh, man.
Until that.
Oh, he's done. He's done.
History has been made. Conor McGregor is the UFC lightweight champion.
What a performance.
Now that he's done all that, his only motivation is competitiveness. And that tends to go down when you're involved in multiple sports, your biggest rivals retire, and you've made more money than you'll ever spend. In addition, McGregor isn't just a fighter anymore. He's an avid businessman who needs to pay attention to his empire. Some of his competitive edges get used up in that field, and fighting is only a passion for McGregor now. It's no longer survival or a way to get off the unemployment payroll. Dana White has often gone on record to say that Conor would fight anyone, anywhere, and say yes immediately when the president called him up. Now that Conor has his pick of the fighters, he's more focused on big money fights, legacy matchups, and potential trilogies rather than building a winning streak on the way to a title. Personally, I don't think Conor's going to be a champion in the UFC again, and the primary reason behind it isn't his hunger or skill set. No fighter has ever come back from a broken leg. God bless McGregor. The Irishman's such a good sport about his injury that it's easy to forget how horrible of an injury it was. And the effect a broken leg has on a fighter is also diminished in our eyes when we see Conor cycling and working out. But make no mistake, this is the type of injury that completely changes the trajectory of a career. Anderson Silva was still on top of the world when he rematched Chris Weidman, and he made a miraculous recovery to return to the cage. But he never became champion again. He never even managed to put together any kind of a winning streak directly after the most dominant reign as champion in the UFC to this day. The problems with McGregor's movement and stance will be made even worse with a titanium rod traveling up his leg. Any extended movement is bound to strain the metal as his leg muscles stretch over the plate, and we really don't know if it'll hold up under stress. There's only one major difference left between the old and current Conor. Father Time will come for everyone. McGregor is 34 years old now and will be 35 when he fights Chandler. That's not a bad age to be a fighter at all. In fact, it's the tail end of the mixed martial artist's prime. But the Irishman is riding a razor's edge in terms of title ambitions. Let's say he beats Chandler. It's no guarantee he gets a shot at the title immediately with contenders like Beneil waiting on the sidelines. And beating a young, hungry top fighter is something Conor hasn't done in 7 years. Let's say he makes his way to Islam Makhachev for the championship. That is going to be the last chance Conor ever has to fight for the lightweight championship. If Islam dominates him, Conor may be too old to start a championship run all over again and may be relegated to prize fighting. No matter what happens in the fight against Michael Chandler, it's clear to everyone that Conor is an inherently changed fighter. He may need to adapt and more if he wants to feel the weight of gold around his waist again. We'll see you in the next video.